guys, Josh from soccerreviewsforyou.com, bringing you my review plus on-feet video of the brand new Umbro Velocita 3 Pros. Now, as you can see, I have a pretty fancy box right here. This is actually a press kit sent to me for review from Umbro, so thank you very much to them for sending this out. Should you order a pair, keep this in mind. It's just going to come in a regular Umbro box, not the one that you see right here. But nonetheless, it's a cool box, so I figured I'd show you. Basically, it's just for show. Open the box up, and on the inside, all you find are the shoes. Then it does have the "Don't Get Caught" marketing slogan there on the inside of the lid. And of course, here is a look at the shoes themselves. This is the Velocita 3 Pro, the third generation of Velocita model, which is kind of their speed boot, if you will. And it's a pretty interesting shoe. Of course, in today's video, we're gonna go over all the details on tech specs, the weight, as well as how these things fit and feel on feet. So if you are interested in learning more, please stick around and watch the entire video. If you're interested in a pair for yourself, I'll leave a little pop-up on screen, or you can click the first link down below. That'll take you to the review page on my website, where you'll find buy it now links where you can pick these up for $170. So it's a fairly affordable top-end model in comparison to most other shoes, which are generally $200 plus for the top-end shoes. So again, if you're interested in a pair, pop up on screen, first link down below, go ahead and check it out. And with that being said, let's get right into the review. To start things off, let's go over all the different tech specs. Now, the Velocita 3 combines elements that we definitely have seen from other shoes, from other brands. You have a combination of a neoprene material and a mesh-based synthetic to make up the entire upper. The neoprene material kind of fills in the middle of the shoe. There is no tongue, and then obviously extends into the collar area. Then you have fused TPU material over top of everything. And in the forefoot area, you can see it's a mesh-based synthetic with little inserts right here, as well as right here, which I'll explain in just a second. So the neoprene aspect reminds me a lot of what you're gonna find from the Adidas X15.1, now the previous model, of course, but this definitely does have a very similar look, a very similar kind of shape to the heel area. It is a low cut shoe. I wouldn't call this a mid cut or consider it mid cut by any means. And it's kind of that same idea. It's a stretchy material, although this does feel a little bit thicker and, dare I say, a little bit more premium than what we got from the neoprene on the X15.1. And I guess they incorporated it in a more significant way in that it is one piece and it does kind of fill in, I guess, half of the entire upper, whereas the neoprene on the X15.1 was basically just right here. It didn't go all the way through the entire upper. As far as this mesh-based synthetic is concerned, which is the majority of what you're going to feel on the ball if you are kind of just dribbling, this is more so something you're going to feel when shooting, which is on the thinner side. I would say this shoe in general does have more of a barefoot feel, just in terms of general touch on the ball. But this material, again, it is a mesh-based, kind of textured, almost honeycomb type synthetic, a very similar pattern to what we saw originally on the Hypervenom Phantom 1. We now see it on the Phantom 2 and Finish. Although this reminds me a little bit more of the honeycomb-based mesh on the New Balance Vizaro, in that it does have a little bit more of a stiffness to it. It softens up as you wear it in, but definitely a nice synthetic, a little bit thicker than what you're gonna find from this neoprene material, but it still is thin. Again, though, due to that mesh base, you're gonna have a slightly padded sensation, and I guess that's consistent throughout the entire upper. This is slightly padded as well, but thin overall. That's kind of the general sensation you're going to get from this shoe. So you can see that the cutoff point for this material, it's kind of hidden a little bit because of the actual kind of branding right here. But there's a seam that cuts right around here, goes all the way through the forefoot area, and then kind of spins down and goes right there. You guys can see it through the little fused over top piece. And then you have two of these, one on either side, where again, it cuts around the neoprene and they insert some more of that kind of mesh-based synthetic. That's actually part of their A-frame cradle, where they're just trying to add more structure to the side walls of the shoe, both the lateral and medial side, just to create a nice locked-in sensation, a responsive feel when moving around. And then, of course, you have the extra fused-on A-frame cradles on top of that, again, on both sides of the shoe. That's kind of a signature of Umbro, and they have incorporated it here on the Velocita 3. Overall, though, the upper feels good. It's soft against your foot. It's thin to where you are going to get kind of a barefoot feel that I would say is more similar to something like a Hypervenom Finish than maybe a Vapor 11, kind of on par even with an X16.1 to a certain extent. But still a thinner shoe overall. The upper feels very good. I think that with all the segmentation in the material, it still does maintain a one-piece feel on your foot, which is nice to see. It doesn't really feel like anything is overlapping, which technically it isn't. And overall, I'm just impressed with the feel of the shoe. As far as the finish on the surface is concerned, with this TPU covering, it does have a slightly waxy finish, again, kind of reminiscent of the Vizaro as well as the Hypervenom, so it's not going to be overly slick on the ball, just slightly grippy, which is not a bad thing whatsoever. Laces run through the middle, as you guys can see, and they did utilize a dual lace hole system because of the one-piece design, which does work quite well. We'll talk about that a little bit later during the video, during the on-feet portion of the video, sorry. And then again, you have this kind of one-piece opening here. There is no tongue technically, it just flows over top. And then they have left the center portion kind of free of any fused material, so it does have a little bit of stretch to it. It's not overly stretchy, but just enough to where it is going to make it a little bit easier to put your foot in and get it out, which I didn't find to be all that difficult at all. Internally, you're going to find a kind of mesh-based liner material with really nice padding. It's got these two kind of defined bumps on either side of the Achilles, which does a pretty good job of locking your heel in place. It's very soft against your heel. I'm not normally a fan of these mesh-based liners, but this does feel particularly premium, and heel slippage doesn't seem to be an issue just based on what I've experienced from the shoe so far. The insole, fully removable. It features perforations throughout, and it's just a single layer of foam, nothing too fancy, but it does get the job done. And then moving on to the bottom, you do get a heel counter attached directly to the sole plate, and this is a carryover from the Velocita 1 and 2. Haven't changed a thing here. And again, very similar to Adidas' Sprint frame if you want to compare it to anything. It's a similar thickness, it's a similar material. If anything, I would say this is perhaps a little bit stiffer out of the box, although it does get more flexible over time. And the stud pattern layout, again, very similar to what you're going to find from Adidas, although this is listed as hard ground, HG. It's more of a firm ground stud pattern. I wouldn't necessarily say that this is an awesome hard ground shoe. The reason why Umbro does state it as hard ground though is because that's just what they do. Umbro always says hard ground versus firm ground, I guess just to be a little bit different than anyone else. But overall, I would definitely say that this is more of a firm ground stud pattern that actually does perform well. If you've used anything from Adidas with their Sprint frames, this is going to feel very, very similar. You can see they incorporated conical studs on the medial side and then kind of these bladed style studs, more angular shaped studs on the lateral side of the forefoot, and then you get that continuing into the heel as well. Again, the traction is good, nothing spectacular, nothing out of the ordinary in comparison to other stuff out there. Just very reminiscent of what you get from Adidas. Although I will say that the design of this shoe, I think they did a pretty good job with it. It looks very modern. It looks, I guess, more high-tech than what we've seen out of Umbro from the last little while. And again, I think it's just an attractive set of features all incorporated into one single shoe. And again, I'm pretty optimistic in terms of what the future holds for Umbro. I'm really happy with these. I think it's an improvement over previous Velocita models, although it is quite a bit different, being that this isn't just a regular thin synthetic. But for a one-piece upper, which can generally be a little bit difficult to pull off, I think they did a pretty good job here with the Velocita 3. As far as weight is concerned, I thought we'd compare the Velocita 3 to the X16.1 from Adidas, given that the two shoes have somewhat similar designs. So I'm going to weigh both shoes for you today in real time using this scale. Keep in mind they're both in brand new condition and both the exact same size 9 US. We'll start off with the X16.1. Throw them on the scale and you can see that they weigh in at 7.55 ounces, the equivalent of 214 grams. So remember those numbers, change the scale back to ounces, and we'll throw on the Velocita 3, and you can see that they weigh in at 6.8 ounces, the equivalent of 192 grams. So you're talking about a weight difference of about 0.6, 0.7 ounces, which is significant enough. The Velocita definitely does feel lighter in comparison to the X16.1. It definitely feels thinner and just less bulky overall as well. But again, it really does depend on what you're looking for. I know Umbro is not a brand for everybody. Some people would just rather have, I guess, a brand that is necessarily more notable, but is definitely more popular in Nike and Adidas, even Puma, in comparison to Umbro. But again, if you want something different and you want something that's just as capable as what you can get from the big brands, this Umbro Velocita 3 is, like I said, a pretty attractive package of features all on one single shoe. As far as the aesthetics of the shoe and the general colorway is concerned, I think the Velocita 3 is a really good looking shoe. They did a good job to give the shoe a very modern aesthetic. I think the angular look of the heel counter and just the sole plate in general just looks very, very good, even though it's a carryover design-wise, not something all new for this particular model. But the upper, it's cool. It's got different textures to it. I like the kind of fused over top pattern with the Umbro double diamond. They kept things very simple there. The Velocita branding, the Velocita logo there on the back of the heel, which I thought was a cool little kind of subtle element. And again, the shape of the shoe in general, I think just looks very, very sleek. The launch colorway, which is what I have right here, I can't say I'm too crazy about. You have this kind of teal green color for the fused overlays and of course the laces. You have this interesting kind of red on red on red pattern within the actual neoprene aspect of the upper, which again, I think is a cool little detail. I'm not sure that this teal and the red go together particularly well. And then you have the honeycomb mesh part of the upper, which has this kind of, I guess, dirty white look, almost like a really, really light gray. I think that depending on how this shows up on camera, it might look like the lighting is bad, but that's just the look of this shoe. It doesn't have that bright white look like you'll find from the sole plate. The sole plate is definitely a bright white, but in contrast with this on the upper, like I said, it has this kind of dulled out grayish look to it. I think that has a lot to do with the actual TPU covering that they have across the majority of the upper. It just kind of dulls out the colors, even when you look at the red here versus the red that's completely exposed. It's a lot brighter when it's left completely exposed, but nonetheless, again, I just think it's a really good looking shoe. More colorways will come. This is just the very first one, but nonetheless, pretty good looking shoe. Let me know what you guys think though down below in the comment section. Do you like how these look? Why or why not? And with that being said, let's move on to the on-feet portion of the video so we can get a better idea as to how these shoes fit, feel, and of course what the sizing is like. All right, so here is a look at the Velocita 3's on feet. On my left foot I have the stock teal laces that come with the shoes, and on my right foot I have a pair of red reflective SR4U replacement laces. If you're interested in a pair of replacement laces for yourself, the website to go to is www.sr4ulaces.com. There'll be a little pop-up on screen, or you can click the link down below in the description of this video. It'll take you directly to the website. So if you're interested in a pair, be sure to go ahead and check that out. Now, with any tight-fitting, thin synthetic, especially one-piece upper shoe, you want it to have a nice shape. You want it to have that perfect wrap on your foot. That's something that you can often get very wrong with this type of design. But Umbro did a really good job in terms of making sure the shape of this shoe has the right fit overall. And I'm just really, really impressed with the fit and feel of this shoe out of the box. It has a nice tight wrap around your foot. If I had to compare it to anything else out there right now, it would be the Vapor 11, even the Vapor 10, which is a very, very big compliment for this particular shoe. I think it fits a lot better than previous Velocita models. Obviously, the design of the upper is a lot different, being that it's not the same kind of standard synthetic material, not a microfiber. But like I said, given the one-piece design, given the kind of interchanging materials throughout the entire upper, they did a really good job. The wrap around your foot is nice and tight, but not uncomfortable in any way. The upper feels soft and flexible as well. No issues with heel slippage. The lockdown is great. It feels very secure on your foot, and you get that one-to-one tight connected feel to the shoe, which is kind of what you want from this style of shoe. As far as width is concerned, it does have a tight fit overall, so if you have wide feet, probably not the best option for you, although I will say that these still will fit most people. If you've worn tight-fitting shoes before and hadn't really had any issues with it, you're unlikely to have issues with these. The opening is a little bit small just because of the one-piece construction, so it may take a little bit of struggling the first couple of times to actually get them on, but once you get used to it, you get them on pretty easily. And again, once they are on, the fit is quite snug. So again, not the best option for wider foot types, but will fit most people as long as you do like a tighter fit. And as far as sizing is concerned, I'm wearing my usual size 9 US here, and the fit and the length is absolutely perfect. So if you are looking to order a pair of these for yourself, I would strongly recommend going true to size in order to achieve the best possible fit. All right, guys, that is it for my review of the Umbro Velocita 3 Pros. Again, if you're interested in a pair of these for yourself, you can either click the first link down below or the little eye in the corner of the screen, and on that page you will find buy it now links for this shoe at about $170 US. So if you're interested in a pair, be sure to go ahead and check that out. If you do have any questions regarding this shoe, leave them down below in the comments and I definitely will get an answer out to you. If you enjoyed today's video, found it helpful and informative, be sure to support the video with a like. Subscribe if you haven't already for daily videos on all the latest and greatest soccer gear. You can find all of my social media information linked in the description as well. And other than that, guys, hope you enjoyed today's video, and as always, thanks for watching.